Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to tackle something huge, something that powers literally everything from the stars in the sky to the phone in your hand. We are talking about energy. And our whole journey is going to start with a really simple question.
Think about it for a second. What actually happens when you flip a light switch? We all do it a dozen times a day without even thinking about it. But behind that tiny, simple action is an incredible story of power, of physics, and of massive, complex systems. Because when you flip that switch, you are unleashing energy. And really, what is energy? When you boil it all down, it's just this: the universe's capacity to create change. It's the invisible force that makes things happen. It's what turns a dark room bright or a still fan into a blur of motion.
And you've got to understand, this isn't just about turning on a light bulb. Energy is the engine that drives absolutely everything. It governs how stars are born and how they die. It fuels our planet's weather. It has shaped, and I mean completely shaped, the entire history of human civilization. So that little flick of the switch, it's really just the last step, the finish line of this absolutely epic journey. A journey of power that might start hundreds of miles away, travel across this enormous network, and then bam, it arrives almost instantly right at your fingertips. All right, so let's do that. Let's trace that journey backwards. We're going to zoom out from that light switch and see the incredible system that makes it all work.
So, that system is what we call the electric grid. And you can think of it as a massive three-part journey. First up, you have generation, which is just creating the electricity at a power plant. Then comes transmission, where that power is blasted across hundreds of miles on those huge, high-voltage lines you see. And finally, there's distribution, the local network that brings it right to your neighborhood and eventually to your home.
Okay, but how do you actually make the power in the first place? Well, inside a typical power plant, it's this amazing chain reaction of energy changing forms. You start with the chemical energy in some kind of fuel, and you burn it. That creates thermal energy, heat. That heat boils water, creating steam that spins a turbine. That's kinetic or motion energy. And that spinning turbine is hooked up to a generator, which finally creates the electrical energy that gets sent out to the grid. It's pretty cool. And for the last couple of centuries, the fuel that's been driving that whole process, it's overwhelmingly come from one place, kicking off what we now call the age of fossil fuels. So what exactly are fossil fuels? I love this way of thinking about it. They're basically concentrated ancient sunlight. Seriously, they're the leftover remains of plants and tiny organisms that soaked up the sun's energy millions of years ago. Then, all that got buried and compressed deep inside the earth, turning into what we know as coal, oil, and natural gas. And their dominance today? It is just staggering. I mean, look at this. Even now, with everything we know, over 80% of all the energy the world uses comes from fossil fuels. They're what powered the Industrial Revolution. They built our modern world. But, and this is a big but, there's a huge problem. When we burn these fuels, they release massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And that's the #1 thing driving global climate change. Honestly, this is the fundamental energy challenge of our time. Okay, so if the old way of doing things is causing some major problems, what's the alternative? Where do we go from here? Well, the answer's all around us. It lies in tapping directly into the natural, continuous energy flows of our planet. What we're talking about here is a total shift in how we even think about energy. We're moving away from digging up finite, stored energy, and instead, we're learning to harness sources that are basically inexhaustible, constantly flowing, and clean. And the cool thing is, we have this incredible toolkit of natural power sources to draw from. We can capture the light and heat from the sun. We can grab the kinetic energy from the wind. We can use the immense power of flowing water in rivers. We can even tap into the crazy amount of heat radiating from the Earth's core. And if you really want to wrap your head around the sheer scale of this opportunity, get this. The sun alone beams more energy down to our planet in a single hour than all of humanity uses in an entire year. The potential there is it's absolutely mind-boggling. So, okay, we've got these incredible renewable sources. But how do we actually build a reliable, modern world that runs on them? It's not as simple as just putting up some solar panels, right? We need a whole new set of tools. When you break it down, building this new energy future really comes down to 3 key things. First, we have to get way better at using energy wisely. That's efficiency. Second, we need to save it for later with energy storage. And third, we need a smarter way to manage it all, and that's where smart grids come in. Let's start with the first one, which people often call the first fuel, energy efficiency. And the logic is super simple. The cheapest, cleanest, best energy is always going to be the energy you don't have to create in the first place. It's just about doing more with less. Just look at the humble light bulb. The difference is just mind-blowing. An old school incandescent bulb, it wasted 90% of its energy as heat. It was basically a little space heater that happened to glow. Whereas a new LED converts about 90% of its energy right into light. That is a gigantic improvement, and we can find those kinds of savings everywhere. All right, next up we have to solve a really obvious problem. The sun doesn't shine at night and the wind doesn't always blow. That's where energy storage comes in. Things like huge batteries are absolutely key to unlocking renewables because they let us save up all that clean power so we can use it whenever we need it most. And finally, to manage all of this, we need a totally new kind of grid. You see, the old grid was basically a one-way street. Big power plant sends power out to you, the end. But a smart grid, now that's a different beast entirely. It uses digital tech to create this dynamic two-way network that can juggle power flowing from millions of sources, like rooftop solar panels and electric cars. So there you have it. We have the tools, efficiency, storage, a smarter grid. The technology is here. The real question, the big challenge, isn't if we can build a clean energy world, it's will we do it fast enough? And that, it brings us right back to where we started. The next time you flip that switch, you're not just lighting up a room. You're casting a vote for the kind of energy future we're all going to share.